Well, this is probably a surprise to all of you. This late? Seriously? What? And there goes my music. So this late is a common occurrence. Let me refresh this real quick. Hold on. Being this late in the workshop is a common occurrence. And a lot of people don't realize that. When you're a one-man operation, you've got to move mountains, and you only have so many hours in the day to do that. And this particular machine that belongs to Julie Chunkfits, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Julie Chunk, Julie, oh my gosh. Sorry, Julie. Julie Hunkfits. She has her middle initial on the information she gave me. Julie C. Hunkfits out of Rhinelander, Wisconsin. You guys hear about it all the time. All of the machines from all over the country that come to the workshop, sometimes being shipped, sometimes people driving to the workshop from ridiculously long distances. And so Julie traveled down. I'm actually looking to see if I can get a little bit of Irish music on here. Drove down from Rhinelander, which is not a short distance if you want to Google it. The distance from, there we go. Let's see if it plays this time. I hope it does. But the distance to travel from Rhinelander, Wisconsin down to Oconto, Wisconsin is not a short distance. And so I made some promises to her. I would try to get her Featherweight, which has all kinds of things going on with it. It's got certainly paint issues, as you can kind of see in the shot there. It's got all kinds of deferred maintenance, deep cleaning issues, including in the hook issue. It's a long day, folks. If I can't speak, bear with me. So in the hook area as well, we've got a number of things going on that have to be dealt with so that this machine will actually sew properly. A lot of cleanliness issues on the bottom as well. And a lot of Featherweight owners never take off the bottom of their, the cover, the little oil drip pan cover on the bottom of their machine. But that's part of the process in digging into a machine surgically. You got to go after all of this stuff because it's going to hold this Featherweight back. And we also have to go into the electrical as well. There's a lot of electrical underneath the Featherweight that feeds the light, the motor, and all the other good stuff that the machine needs. But you can see this machine has a lot of potential. I say it all the time, whether it's a Featherweight or whatever the machine is, it's got the potential for greatness. And greatness is what I pursue with every single machine that comes to this workshop. So, but I also wanted to honor a little bit of a tradition that we kind of started here in the workshop on St. Patrick's Day. And that is recognizing this fun poem that I've shared. Okay, the music went off again. You heard a little bit of Irish music, and now YouTube is dropping the ball on St. Patrick's Day. But it's okay. Now I can read this without the music kind of overpowering me. And it's this Irish prayer that I've shared with you guys many, many times over the years. And it reads, "May those that love us, and those that don't love us, may God turn their hearts. And if he doesn't turn their hearts, may he turn their ankles, so we'll know them by their limping." I've shared this with you guys. I posted it on Facebook, and I just think it's a wonderful prayer because it really speaks to the spirit of the Irish people. They are tenacious, driven folks. Oh, I should say hello to a couple of folks too. Hello to Kevin and Doreen out in Iowa. Hello to Emma. Hello to also Kristen's Mixed Media Art. And I didn't know if anyone would be jumping in on a live stream this late. It's ridiculously late, especially for our East Coast folks. because it's going on, gosh, it's going on 10 o'clock their time because it's going on 9 o'clock here. But I had to share this poem with you on St. Patrick's Day. It's become a little bit of a tradition, and I didn't want to miss out on it. It's just been, as some of my closest friends know, it's just been a race to the finish in every respect. I was communicating with Emma earlier today, and I basically said to her, it's been absolutely nonstop. I've got customers coming to the workshop, bringing machines. I'm going out to see customers. As a matter of fact, there's no rest over the weekend either. I'll be entertaining a customer that's traveling a great distance coming to the workshop. Um, and his first name is Scott as well. And he's traveling to the workshop on Saturday morning. And then I have to launch off and go to Michigan to meet with another customer that recently, and this is a little delicate, this is a little bit delicate. Um, this particular customer is very good friends with the general manager of Joanne Fabrics in, oh, there goes my phone. Very good friends with the general manager at Joanne Fabrics in Marinette, Wisconsin, and had purchased one of the newer Singer. Remember, I kind of did a review of it. One of the newer Singer, so-called heavy-duty industrial type machines. They even made the plastic case of these machines with almost kind of an industrial look. Some of you have seen them, and some of you remember that review that I did. It's been a while back. But this particular customer bought the machine from Joanne's because her Necky machine was having some challenges, her vintage Necky machine. And so I should kind of come into the shot a little bit here. So this customer's Necky machine, I'm going to lean over towards the Featherweight almost like I'm cuddling with it here at this late hour. So this customer buys this machine from Joanne's and takes it home and starts to put it to use, and very shortly after experiences issues with it. The needle is striking the throat plate and it's making a horrible something like that. It's making a horrible sound. And the folks at Joanne's are very, very, how can I say it? They're very committed to their customers as well. And so if a customer experiences a problem like that, they want to deal with it right on the spot. So without any hullabaloo, the manager at Joanne's in Marinette right away, wanting to take care of their customer, took the machine that was having difficulties back in, gave her an identical machine to it. I mean, still in the box, and thought that hopefully that'll be the end of it, right? Well, unfortunately, this customer takes that brand new machine back to her place in Michigan. Uh, and again, you're talking about Michigan, up north here. The distance between even the workshop and Michigan is not a world away. It's like about 45 minutes. So, this customer takes it home, pulls it out of the box, is excited because this is going to be an interim machine that's going to serve her in lieu of her Necky machine that's having issues. And lo and behold, after just a little bit of use, this brand new Singer machine, heavy duty, kind of has that industrial look to it, fresh out of the box, starts to exhibit the same symptoms that the other one did. Ugh. I can only imagine how that manager felt at Joanne's, being really committed. And apparently, also from what the customer told me today, the general manager of Joanne's in Marinette, Wisconsin, does not live too far from this customer either. So, that even being almost near neighbors and almost makes it even a little bit more. But again, the Joanne staff in Marinette, Wisconsin, being so dedicated to their customers and wanting to make sure that they're taken care of, had even offered to travel over to this customer's house on Saturday and do her best to kind of look at the machine. Is it threaded right? Is the bobbin orientated right? Is the needle all the way up in the needle socket? Blah 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 blah. So all I can say is Joanne's hires the right people, and especially their management team they're like 100% ready to help out their customers. But I think it's probably, from what I'm hearing, the symptoms and stuff, it might be even a little bit more than this very dedicated manager from Joann's can handle. So what I offered to do is I offered to, after I get done meeting with this customer that's coming to the workshop with their machine, and this other customer that's coming pretty early in the morning is bringing a Husqvarna Model 2000. Any of you remember anything about the Husqvarna Model 2000? What's significant about that model? And if you're not part of this live stream, you could always type it into the comments. So the significant thing, I should give you guys a second to respond. The significant thing, oh, hi, Susie. Susie from Minnesota. And I think I greeted everybody else. I think I did. So, at any rate, what I was saying is I'm cuddling with this featherweight because featherweights are just so doggone cute, right? And one other thing I'll share real quick before I look to see if you nailed it as far as this early customer that's coming to the workshop on Saturday. I don't remember where he's traveling from, but I know it's probably about 4 hours away, and that's not uncommon. It's so humbling. It's so humbling that a number of customers have driven great distances. Even my friend right now that's part of this live stream, Doreen and Kevin, traveled all the way from Iowa to bring two machines to the workshop. Actually, they brought four machines, and I ended up purchasing two of them. Is my personal collection big enough at almost 200? How many more do I need? Just one or two more, something like, you guys know what I'm saying, so anyway, the point is this gentleman is traveling a good distance, and the model, let's see if anybody got it. Hold on a second. Good evening. So no one got it. No one got it. And Kristen is in Arizona. I just read that comment real quick. So the cool thing about a Husqvarna Model 2000 that this gentleman is driving a good distance, probably about 4 hours one way, 8 hours round trip, uh, is that it was the very first colormatic model in that series. And it was introduced right around 1960. So I always kind of get a little bit of a tickle when someone's going to be bringing a Husqvarna Model 2000. Not that I don't want other Swedish beauties coming to the workshop as well, but a Husqvarna Model 2000 was the very first model in the Colormatic series. And the Colormatic series, if you're not familiar with it, was Husqvarna's attempt to take a sewing machine and make it about as easy to operate as they possibly could. You're looking at a series of dials that are all turned to the same color. The same color. So if you're colorblind, maybe they missed the boat on that. But you basically turn all the knobs to the same color, and that will generate that stitch from the cam that is inserted in the back of the machine. It's a brilliant idea. And again, apart from someone being colorblind or having other visual impairments, it's a brilliant way to try to make that machine so easy to operate. And again, the Model 2000 was the very first in that series, the very first. So those are bragging rights. It's like anything that's the first. Oh, it's everyone else is always the second. So the 2000 model is great. But back to this little machine here. Does anyone know? Recently, I showed you that 99K that I just shipped back to Lisa in the great state of Washington. Prior to that, I had done a 201-2 for her, the Rolls Royce of Singer sewing machines. And if you're brand new to VSM and you're saying, oh, hold on a second, why does that guy from Wisconsin keep referring to the Singer 201-2 as the Rolls Royce of Singer sewing machines? What is that about? Well, based on the research that I did, and I made this announcement to the world over 10 years ago, back in around the time of 1948 to 1952, not a big window of time, 48 to 52, 48, let's see, 48 to 40, 49, 50, 51, 52. I got to use my fingers this late at night, guys. So for a period of about 4 years, a company that is originally based, still based, in the United Kingdom was looking for a solution. They were having issues with some of their light industrial machines, some of their industrial machines, with the consistency of stitch quality. And the areas that they were particularly concerned about were the interior leather panels that are characteristic of this particular car. And I'm just kind of draining it out as long as I possibly can. You know, kind of the gift of gab thing that would be characteristic of Irish people, which is totally appropriate on St. Patrick's Day. So they're having issues with stitch quality on their Rolls Royce. I don't need to really describe what a Rolls Royce is, do I? So they're looking for solutions and they happen to bump into Singer. And Singer says, we can deliver machines to you straight away that are going to give you consistent, this is my verbiage, it wasn't back in 1948. They're going to give you consistent page 34 stitches all day long on your leather panels inside of your Rolls Royce. What model did they pick? The Class 201. And the Class 201 back in the 1940s was both belt driven and also it was a potted motor solution like the 201-2. And it's not clear, did they use a combination of those machines? My guess is that they used the 201-2 specifically because it was the most convenient way to move it around the factory as they were doing their stitching. And so the 201-2 got to be that go-to machine for Rolls-Royce as they were looking in that window of time between 1948 and 1952, and it did a brilliant job for them. They eventually migrated different directions with some of the stitch needs that they had, but the point is that's a incredibly historically relevant machine, having served that role for such a prominent company in generating leather stitching products for their interior panels for that incredible car that everyone right away, as soon as you say, what is, they'll even associate other cars with it, much to the chagrin of those other car manufacturers. They'll say it's like a Rolls Royce. And certainly if you're a BMW owner or a Saab owner or, a Volvo owner or whatever it is, you don't like to be compared to Rolls Royce, but it really is kind of the gold standard within luxury cars, isn't it? So that's the significance of the 201-2 that I prepared for Lisa that was shipped out there. And then I just finished that 99K. So what I was eventually getting to with all of that gift of gab that is characteristic of the Irish people and the Irish descent and kissing the Blarney Stone, which I did. When I was living in Germany with the military, I traveled over to Europe or traveled over to Europe. I was in Europe. I traveled over to Ireland. Again, folks, it's what time is it? It's going on 9:00 here. It's going on much later times, to the east, to our friends that are on the East Coast. So at any rate, I travel over to Ireland and I do go to the Blarney Castle. I do kiss the Blarney Stone, which we couldn't do right now in COVID because everybody's kind of kissing the same spot unless they like sanitized it in between each kiss, which, yeah, probably not going to happen. So this machine, I talked about the 99K that I shipped just days ago to Lisa out in Washington State. I talked about it being a 3/4 size machine. And certainly as I was blahing about the 201-2, the Rolls Royce of Singers, that's a full size machine. Where does this machine fall? Again, I talked about the fact that the 99K in overall bed length from here to here is smaller than the Featherweight. And that's a 3/4 size machine. Is this a 3/4 size machine or is it something else? Type it in the chat. I'm going to look at the chat. I'm going to try to play my Irish music one more time because it's St. Patrick's Day, for goodness sake, at least for a couple more hours. And you guys type in the chat, what size is this machine? Is it 3/4 size like its brother, the 99K, or is it something different? All right, let's try this again. Come on, YouTube. Give me a little bit of Blarney. Give me a little bit of Irish music on St. Patrick's Day, for goodness sakes. Oh, yeah. It might stop in just a matter of seconds, but you know what? This is Irish flavor, isn't it? I love it. That's an awesome story. Good evening, everybody. So no one's taking a swing. No one's taking a swing at the featherweight. And the featherweight is like a household name among anyone that does sewing, quilting, anything. This is like the gold standard for quilters, isn't it? Anyone that quilts, anyone that goes to quilting retreats, quilting expos, every one of them wants to get their mitts on a featherweight because that's the thing, right? Well, the featherweight is a standalone machine when it comes to the Singer family of machines that were made back in the day. This is considered a half-size machine. So it's by class or by classification as a half-size machine, it's actually supposedly smaller than a 99K or a Spartan. But we know the real truth, don't we? We know the real truth that the featherweight, because you can't, I mean, unless you have it like I do right now, where I've taken the bed off because I'm getting ready to take this to the paint shop and I'm going to rough the surface, I'm going to condition it, and then I'm going to lay down for Julie. I'm going to lay down some brand new, I'm just double checking that I got her name right because it's really late. Yes, it is. So what I'm going to do for Julie is I'm going to freshen this machine up. But I have to do a lot of things to get it ready for that. And that's why I'm in the workshop late tonight. And the cute thing about Julie from Rhinelander, Wisconsin, and that's a good distance, as Emma had typed in the chat, she didn't realize the significance of this badge mark. Let me bring it closer to this camera that I have. What is the significance of this badge mark? All of you very smart students and fellow teachers, what's the significance of this badge mark? Because when I explained it to Julie, she was like, no way. No way. I had no idea what that meant. Do you guys know what that means? And I can look across at the table where the laptop is sitting, and I can see Emma already nailed it. But Emma, talk a little bit more about that. You said Centennial, which is absolutely spot on. But what does that mean for those that are brand new to VSM? What does Centennial mean? What is that all about? Yeah, Joelle is right as well, 100 years. So, oh yeah, Kristen got it. Kristen got it as well. Kristen nailed it. And Susie nailed it also. Century of services. Yeah, absolutely. See what I'm saying? You guys are absolutely the smartest folks on the earth when it comes to VSM. And it's because of the power of our classroom, right? We all learn from each other. So Singer, right around, 1951-ish, right? And I say 1951-ish, as Emma typed in the chat, because that was the official year of the Centennial celebration. Singer was established in 1851, and they wanted to have a big party when they hit that 100-year mark, which would have been 1951. But the reality about a lot of the Centennial machines, when you look up the serial number, and if you didn't know this, on the featherweights, and I haven't gotten to the bottom of the machine yet, as evidenced by all the crud. By all the crud. This is I referred, and many of you know this, I refer to the featherweight affectionately as the princess of singers, right? The counterpart, the free arm version of this featherweight, the 222K, is referred commonly around the world as the queen of singers. So the regular featherweight, I call the princess of singers. I don't know if everybody's embraced that yet around the world, but a lot of people are starting to talk about that idea. So on the bottom of the featherweight, right about here, just to the left of where the raceway would be, is where the serial plate is for the featherweights, right there. So if you didn't know that, now you know where to find it. You have to take off this little oil cover that goes on the bottom. And then right about here, and again, I haven't cleaned this yet, but right around here is where you're going to find that serial plate. What you'll find about some of the featherweights is, and yes, it's light, 11 pounds. It's actually less than 11 pounds because I have the balance wheel off, and I've got the tilt bed off as well. So it's like we're doing a little bit of a weight loss thing, but I have to take this completely apart and take off all of the hardware, including the bobbin winder, when it goes to the paint shop, because when you clear coat a machine using a professional approach like I do, that stuff will seep into every tiny little crevice of the machine. So the masking process alone, when I get to the paint shop, is a good 2 hours, even for a little mighty mite like the Featherweight. So I have to mask off everything everywhere I don't want that clear coat to get. I've got to safeguard it. Otherwise, that clear coat in the mist form that I apply it, it's going to get right in there. And clear coat, when it dries on the paint after I prepared a machine like this, it's absolutely gorgeous, right? It gives the depth of shine, it gives the beauty of it, all of that stuff. But when it gets on anything that should be moving, the mechanics, look at how yucky this is right now. I haven't gotten to this yet either. I don't know if you can see that in the shot. Let me turn on my little light on the camera. So when if clear coat gets into here by these worm gears and all of the mechanics and the main shaft and everything, what it does is it acts like cement and it gums up the entire machine. And then, I can get in there with my dental tools. I can try to get in there with solvents and things to break that clear coat down. But because it's industrial clear coat, I've got to do a really good job of masking it off, because I will create a nightmare for myself if I don't do a good job of masking, because it'll get in here. And right now, obviously the concern is all the filth. That'll be dealt with before it gets to the paint shop tomorrow. I'll be in the workshop for probably another half hour to 45 minutes getting this ready. So when I launch first thing in the morning, I won't have to deal with this once I get back from the paint shop with it. But clear coat is just a nasty thing when it comes to, if it goes where you want it to go, you're good to go. If it doesn't, you got just a lot of challenges. This is part, I'll just show you this real quick. I've already done some initial cleaning on it. This is part of the hook system on the Featherweight. And when you're initially looking at a Featherweight, which is kind of easy to do, this is going to kind of be in there like that. It kind of rotates into position. And you can take your Q-tip swabs and use an appropriate solvent to clean all this up, but it's absolutely mind-blowing when you take this apart, the feed dog system and everything else. Look at actually, I've done some cleaning on that as well already, but inside of this area where that thread is going to be passing to complete the magic and the stitching, this was absolutely filthy when I started. It still has a lot of filth on there if you look on the edge and stuff, but it's gotten a lot cleaner. But if you decide to be ambitious, and if you have a Featherweight and you decide to open this up, just be aware the screw that kind of holds this together is ultra teeny tiny. Let me show it to you. I've got it on my magnetic tray right now. And I don't know if I could give you a comparison to show you how small it is. Yeah, I could actually. Hold on, let me set it right there. Actually, I'm going to leave it in the magnetic tray. I don't want to lose this puppy. So let me reach into my pocket and take out a penny. I wish I had a dime. Maybe I do have a dime. Oh, I do have a dime. Perfect. So a dime is obviously even smaller than a penny. Let me show you how this little screw that holds that gib and everything else together in the raceway, how small that is. Let me shut that light off. I think it's reflecting on there. That's it right there. That magnetic effect that's kind of bouncing around. Hold on a second. I almost got it. I'm getting so close. There it is. Finally. So the point is, if you decide to be ambitious and tear yours apart, make sure you have a magnetic tray or something so you don't lose this little screw. If you have to try to replace this screw, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. So, you know, I love when folks will send me notes from all around the world and they'll say, "Hey, after watching your video or looking at your still shots on Facebook, I got ambitious and I took that on and I did that to the Husqvarna, I did that to the Featherweight, I did that to whatever." I love hearing that, but I also get the other notes from people as well, where on the Husqvarnas, they've seen me take apart the raceway area and I grind down that little area that the thread creates those little grooves on and all that, and they've gone too deep and then they've hit the metal, or they've taken off additional parts within the raceway and then they throw the hook timing off on it as well. So I get those notes as well. But you know what? We all, as we're learning, we all sometimes miss the mark, don't we? So that's okay. There's no shame. There's no reason to be, feeling bad if you get ambitious and you try to do things to your machine and you kind of goof up a little bit. You can always, with very few exceptions, you can always make it right again. And sometimes it's made right by one of those folks reaching out to me and saying, "Oops, what do I do?" I just recently had a lady, interestingly, that reached out to me. I won't continue to show you that tiny little screw, that gets boring after a while. Uh, but I had a lady that reached out to me almost in tears, and what she had done is on one of the Husqvarnas, she had taken off the free arm that you've seen me do before in still shots, and I think I've done videos on it as well. But at any rate, she takes it off, and before she gets the free arm completely off, she looks at one of those pads that's kind of near the mechanics of that free arm, and she's working at it and tears it off without intending to, and thinks that she has just totally trashed her machine. Might as well just put the machine in the closet. You can't use it anymore. Well, I put her mind at ease right away, and I said, those pads that are used with the Husqvarna machines, certainly on other machines as well. Other machine manufacturers use them. Foff did, Elna did, Bernina used them as well back in the day. They're just almost like a sump system. They're a sump system that you periodically will saturate that pad, make it, nice and damp. And then it'll continue to, almost like that 101-4 that I presented to you recently, that belongs to Mary from Washington State as well. And I talked about on the 101-4, you can take the entire bed off. They wanted folks to be able to service the machine from up top without tilting it back. And I showed you that little spider thing on the inside of there, where all those little wicking points go out to the different mechanical parts of that machine. That's the same idea of those pads that are in a lot of the machines, including the Swedish Beauties. And she said, "Well, I understand. Okay, well, thanks for putting my mind at ease. But what do I do now? What do I do? What do I do?" I said, "You send me your address with a postage paid envelope, and I will mail you some of my, I call it the stiffener stuff. You guys remember that stuff? Let me show you what it looks like again. And if anybody else needs some of this, send me a postage paid envelope, and I'll send it to you also, a sample of it, so you can use it for what she's using it for. Hold on a second. Let me get it and I'll show you. And I'm cutting a piece off of her right now. And I explained to her, I said, you can cut this into any shape. You can cut this into any shape that you want. And it's nice and rigid, just like the original stuff that the Swedes would have put into the Husqvarnas. So I said, you just get your scissors, take your original one that you tore, kind of lay it on there, draw it or whatever, and they just cut it out. And this stuff is incredibly absorbent, and it does a great job of being a replacement. I'll just show you. It does a great job of being a replacement, unless you don't take the tip off, then it doesn't. Yeah. Like I said, it's late, you guys. I get kind of goofy when it gets late. Some of you that have communicated with me know that. So, you just kind of dampen it after you cut it into the shape that you want, and it takes on that oil beautifully. And then you just, anchor it into place, and you're good to go. So if anyone else could benefit from something like this for one of your machines, and I've had people as well that will use it in the faceplate area on the machines as well. Even some of my featherweight owners will put a little bit of this in there, kind of dampen it periodically. and then it will wick that oil up to all those parts and keep it lubricated more evenly than when you're just doing it yourself. And this concept of having a wicking system really goes back to the earlier singers, like I'm trying to think of some of the models that they would use it in quite a bit, but it became a way that they could put this into areas that the owner was, not as likely to go into on a regular basis that needed that constant lubrication. And they would soak these little pads and they would just stick them into that space. And that oil would continue to, basically evaporate and wick and keep those mechanics running even more smoothly than just kind of lubricating it yourself manually. So, but if anybody, wants a chunk of this stuff, just send me a note, drop me a note to the workshop, and I'll let me know, within reason. I'm not going to send you 20 feet of this stuff, but within reason, if you want a certain size, like a 4 by 10 or whatever it is, I'll just cut it right off of my big roll and I'll drop it in the mail to you. But this is wonderful stuff. It really is. And it's got a slight rigidity to it, so it doesn't lose its form. It doesn't get all mushy, and it's great stuff. It's truly great stuff. So I'm going to help this lady out, and that way she can start sleeping at night again, and not yell at her kids or swing an iron pan at her husband or something. I could save a marriage doing this. I could, save her from getting child protective I'm joking, child protective services. But this is really great stuff. So if anybody wants it, send me a note to the workshop, have a little envelope inside with a stamp or two on it, and I'll drop some of this stuff in the mail to you. Blah, 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 blah. So but I'm going to continue plugging. I'm going to get back to work on this featherweight, so it's all set to go in the morning to my paint shop. And also when you're cleaning something up to be clear coated, you want to get all of that varnishing off of there. See that varnishing right there where the upper tension would go? Let me kind of move my finger. All of that needs to come off. Let me turn my light on again. All of that that doesn't help. This all needs to come off as well. Any of that varnishing on any of that browning, because if this gets clear coat on it, then it's going to basically cocoon and seal that in. And then I'll have to strip all the clear coat off to get back to this anyway. So I'm just going to get it off straight away. And then if a little bit of clear coat gets on there, no harm, no foul. But yeah, I know some folks that have reached out to me and they said, I want to try clear coating my own machine. I bought this stuff and whatever. Just be aware there's a lot of preparation. It goes back to you guys remember my thing from the military, the prior planning prevents poor performance, the 5 P's. And in the military, we had a couple of extra P's in there as well that I won't say on this live stream, but prior planning prevents poor performance. The 5 P's, prior planning prevents poor. Yep. I just had to count with my fingers to make sure it was 5. The more preparation you put into, and that's what keeps me in the workshop late at night. I want to do it right. So I've got to plan all this. Also areas like this where the switch is for the light, you can see right now the paint has basically been worn away. All of this has to be touched up as well. And I've got color correct paint that I generated by using a photospectrometer. And if you didn't know it, many of you that are regulars already know this because I've mentioned it several times. When you look at the Singer paint, this original paint that would have been used by Singer, it's not black paint. It's not only black paint, I should say. It also has a composition of blue tint in it as well. And that's why when you look at a Singer machine that really has a beautiful luster to it, and this one is not there right now, but when you look at a Singer machine that has a beautiful luster to it, it's a deeper, richer black than you would see on a standard black. And it's because they incorporated that blue tint into the black paint. And it's a very specific amount of blue, and it's a very specific type of blue that goes into that paint as well. And anyone, I guess anyone that has access to a photospectrometer would be able to take the original paint that has not been touched up, that has not been adulterated in some way, and they could use a photospectrometer just as I did to get that paint color absolutely factory perfect. Factory perfect. Because there's a lot of other folks out there that will paint machines and they use just black and then they'll clear coat it. And it's not bad, but it doesn't have the richness, the depth, the flavor of that original Singer color that they would have used in their Singer factories. And I'm really pleased that I was able to come up with the right mix so that when I touch up machines like this, you can kind of see on the bed there right near this decal, there's some bare spots along here. Before I clear coat this tomorrow, I'm going to touch up all these spots as well so that that clear coat will seal that paint in. And that's really the big deal about clear coat, isn't it? Clear coat, for some people that are not as educated as all of you watching right now, because you're a part of this classroom, we learn together, we share information, we become smarter, we become teachers, and we go out and teach other folks as well. The big deal about clear coat is not just that it makes the machine pretty. It also does what in relation to the surface, in relation to the decals? Type it in the chat if you know the answer to that. What does clear coat do? What's the big deal about clear coat? Yeah. And while you're deciding what the big deal about clear coat is, I'm going to see if I can put on a little bit more Irish music because it's still St. Patrick's Day for a couple more hours. And I love St. Patrick's Day. After having visited Ireland, it is one of my favorite holidays. It really is. All right. YouTube, do your job, doggone it. My friends want a little bit of Irish music, doggone it. Come on. Don't make me get frustrated. Blah, blah. Is that Irish? It's supposed to be Irish. Yeah, that feels Irish, doesn't it? That feels a little Irishy. See, this stuff just works really onto that oil beautifully, isn't it? What was I going to tell you guys? What did I ask you guys? I asked you something. Oh, clear coat. Clear coat. All right, let's look at the chat. So Eddie, hey Eddie, I didn't even greet you yet, man. Good to see Eddie and oh wow. And Christina from Brazil. Does anyone know what time it is in Brazil right now? I'm really utterly curious. Because Christina, that's in the chat right now, is from the beautiful. And oh, here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Come on, Mr. Bean, do something for the folks. Do something, man. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Everybody that said protection. I'm just double checking that I greeted everybody else. I did. So yeah, clear coat, what it does, that was kind of a fun little song, wasn't it? I better grab this part of the hook system too before I lose that. So yeah, what it does is, and even the folks that are making aftermarket decals right now, they'll tell you you can't just put down the decal. You've got to lay down that layer of protection. And the clear coat is really what gives that beautiful luster when you wax the machine as well. After you clear coat a machine, and if you didn't know this, when you use industrial grade clear coating, it takes almost 3 months to completely cure, to completely dry, to be absolutely resolute, and there's no more curing process going on with it. And that's why, when I get done clear coating a machine, I usually try to drag my feet a little bit before I take it through the process of packing it, because you guys know with my packing process, we go around the machine, we cocoon it in stretch wrap. That stretch wrap, it has a pretty strong tensile pressure against that surface. And that always makes me a little bit nervous, to be honest with you. It makes me a little bit nervous because what literally could happen, because that clear coat embeds itself, it goes into those pores of the paint and it just latches on like a tick on a dog. I mean, not to be overly graphic. Sorry about that. If you had kids in the room or something like that, why are they still awake? It's too late for them. But no, the point is clear coat gets in there and it just latches onto that paint. And when if I go around it with a lot of pressure with my stretch wrap, it literally could pull that entire thing off, almost like back here when I was cleaning. I was cleaning this area where the motor the motor is rusty, but where the motor rests on the featherweight right here, as I was working around with a cleaning solvent that is really safe for paint, it actually pulled that entire paint right off. So this is another area after this live stream. I've got to touch this up as well. Even though the motor sets on top of it and it's not going to be real visible, I know that that's a kind of a bare spot. So I'm going to touch that up as well so that when I clear coat this, that's going to receive that seal effect as well from that clear coat. But clear coat takes like 90 days to completely cure. So just be aware of that. If you decide to take on a project yourself, be mindful of that as you're interacting with that machine, that clear coat is going to continue to be curing and drying and adhering to that finish and creating that armor for the finish of that machine for about 90 days. Now, if you're in a more damp, humid type environment, like a lot of our friends that are in Florida, that curing process could even go up to 120 days. So just be aware of that. It's one of those things that could really come back to bite you if you're not incredibly cautious about that. So just a little tip on clear coating. Clear coating. Yeah. And also most of you know this as well. On the featherweight, I'm going to take out this bulb. Try to take this bulb out. There it goes. On the featherweight, as you're looking at preparing a machine like this for the paint shop, like I am right now, this light assembly needs to also come off at least to a point of separating from the body of the machine. There's a single, you can see it right there. There's a single bolt. Wait, where am I aiming the camera? I think I'm aiming the camera right, sort of. Hold on a second. Yeah, I think you can see it. That single little bolt right there. Yeah, now you can see it. Yeah. So that single little bolt is all that holds this assembly and presses it into the body of the featherweight. This bolt needs to come out. And really, ideally, what I try to do whenever I can, because I want things to be done once and to be done right. This whole light assembly really should be separated from the body. It should be clear coated underneath the light, and then the light should be clear coated separately, just like the balance wheel, just like the tilt bed as well. Why do I say that? Because paint over time, and again, this is all original paint on Julie's machine. Paint over time can get brittle, especially if it doesn't have a good clear coat finish on it. So paint can start chipping. You can get chipping adjacent to the light, and it creates a problem. It's not doing it the right way. So the whole light assembly should come off. The body of the featherweight is clear coated, and then the light assembly is clear coated separately, along with the balance wheel, the tilt bed. And again, just closing off every orifice on the machine. You notice even here where the upper tension goes into that little hole. If that little hole right there isn't sealed as well before clear coating, that clear coating is going to be going in there. And where will it go? Into all of the mechanics of the faceplate area that I've already done a really good job of cleaning up. This was just filthy. You'll see that in the still shots that I'm going to post on Facebook. This was all grungy and gummy and just nasty. And when you tried to turn the balance wheel on this featherweight, it just wasn't moving freely at all. Now I'm doing it with 2 fingers. And the machine is just turning beautifully. Just beautifully. You can't see that I'm doing it with 2 fingers, but I am. Yeah. So, at any rate, I'm trying to give you all fair warning because I know you guys are very smart. Number one, you're very, very smart. You're very ambitious, and you want to be as independent as possible. And I respect and admire that. But if you decide to take on clear coating, just realize you got to do a lot of prep. There's a lot of prep between the work that I've done today on this featherweight, getting it ready for the paint shop, and the additional prep that I'll do tomorrow when I get to the paint shop as far as masking everything off. If you add that up, it's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. It's probably like around 6 to 8 hours, somewhere in that realm. So, but it's worth it, isn't it? It's worth it to do it the right way. There's always ways to cut corners. There's always ways to compromise. There's always ways to do it, as my father used to say, half donkey, half donkey. You can put that together because, again, you're real smart and know what my dad really said. He didn't say half donkey, he said something else. Don't do it half donkey, Scott. Do it right or don't do it at all. So that's why the process takes as long as it does. And there's no, I mean, there's no way to speed that up. It is what it is. If you're going to do it right, you can cosmetically clean up the hook system and not take the time to take that little screw out and to separate this and to pull out, all of that and to rotate the gib out and everything else. But it's not going to be the same. It's not going to give you the same result. It's going to create stitch issues for that customer down the road. It's so pointy. When you go to push it open, it's like, ouch, ouch. So, yeah. And I would encourage you as well, being a part of this classroom, don't take the easy way out. Do things right. Whatever you're doing with your vintage sewing machines, whatever you're doing with your machines, take the long road around, because what that's going to result in is that machine is going to serve you faithfully for a lifetime. It's going to deliver at a level that other people that see your machine operating, other people that witness your machine, just like when they witness these premieres and these live streams where I'm taking one of these machines through the sewing Olympics, and I get notes all over the time. I get notes all the time. Again, I can't speak this late at night. I get notes all the time from people saying, "Why can't my machine of the same make and model do what you did with yours?" It's because we took the long road around, right? We took the long road. We didn't cut corners. We took that machine through a surgical process from bobbing the balance wheel, and it makes all the difference in the world, doesn't it? Even on St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. Now Mr. Bean is dancing. Why wouldn't you dance for the folks before, man? Now you're doing a little jig and there's no music on? What's that about? Yeah. So you guys continue to love on your machines, continue to love on your machines and take care of them like the treasure that they are. That's the thing that a lot of folks don't realize is we are dealing with treasures. We are dealing with legacy pieces that in many cases have been passed from one generation to a generation and another generation and another generation. How many things can you say that about in our society today? How many things can you say that about that have that lasting power that our vintage sewing machines do? You just can't. You just can't. And that's why the work that I do, I feel so privileged to do it. And the work that you do with your machines in maintaining them, you should feel privileged to do that because you're doing legacy work so that that next generation that hopefully you've drawn into the fold and gotten excited. I'll cuddle with my featherweight again here. So again, that grandchild, that daughter, that son, whoever it is, that you have gotten them to get excited about what does it mean to be touching something that, is 100 years old. This one isn't 100 years old, but a lot of our vintage sewing machines are. You get them enthralled with that sense of respect, that sense of awe, and all of a sudden they will start to latch onto your passion, and you're passing that passion from one generation to another. That's what it's about, isn't it? It's not just us being excited, it's us going out from this classroom and getting others excited about what we're involved with, what we're doing, and helping them to appreciate, when they have a 201-2. Do you realize that that class machine sewed the leather panels of the Rolls-Royce from 1948 to 1952? As soon as you tell someone like that, I saw a posting one time on Facebook Marketplace, and I'm just kind of giving you a little story here so you can appreciate how powerful the knowledge that we have is. I reach out to a lady that has a 201-2, and I know from the pictures right away it's a 201-2, and she's got it listed for $50. And the decaling on it is, I mean, it's like perfect. And she even shot a little video clip of it, just operating, and it sounded really good. And I reached out to her through the Facebook Marketplace thing, and I said, I'm just curious, and I'm not meaning to be confrontational or anything, but why are you selling this sewing machine for $50? And she says, well, it belonged to my mom. She bought it new back in 1950 something. I don't remember what the year was. She bought it new, and I just don't have any need for it. I never learned how to sew, and it's just an old sewing machine to me. Well, I took a little bit of time. I didn't have to, but I took a little bit of time to say to her, let me tell you about this machine that your mom bought brand new. Let me tell you how it was used back in 1948 by a company that I think you'll recognize right away, Rolls-Royce. She said, you've got to be kidding. This type of machine was used to sew the interior leather panels of the Rolls-Royce? I said, absolutely. And you've got it listed for 50 bucks. I said, here's what I would recommend. And other people are not going to be happy with me because she had already gotten a number of inquiries and people that were hoping to schedule a time to come out and scoop this machine up. I said, I would recommend, from what I'm hearing in the video clip, from what I'm seeing on the shots, that you list this machine for a minimum of $400 and that you not flex too far from that because you've got a treasure there. Not to mention the fact that it belonged to your mom. And if you decide that you can't find the right person that's willing to pay the fair price for it of $400, then hang on to that machine a little bit longer and contemplate keeping this as a family heirloom. It belonged to your mom. She bought it brand new. Remember me talking about the power of providence? As soon as we know that a machine, we can track that providence back to that original owner, which was her mom. Right away in my neck of the woods, that adds significant value to that machine. It adds significant value to that machine because we know that that machine has been cared for. I talked about this before. When someone would buy a featherweight back in the day, again, the featherweight, if you didn't know this, was originally introduced at the Chicago World's Fair. Does anyone remember the year that it was introduced? I've covered this many times in our classroom. What year the featherweight was introduced at the Chicago World's Fair? Type it in the chat, and I'm gonna get something to drink. My throat's getting a little bit gnarly. Put on a little bit more Irish music. See if you can type the date that the featherweight was introduced at the Chicago World's Fair. A lot of people bought them, and most of them had to buy them on installment payments. They couldn't pay the full price up front. It was too much based on the limited budget back then. So they would pay sometimes up to 2 years before that featherweight or that 201-2 was theirs, free and clear. So it gives you an idea why is providence such a big deal? Because if you pay on something over 2 years, kind of like buying a car, you're going to take care of that thing. You're going to treat it really well. You're going to make sure that it gets the oiling and everything else that that machine needs to stay tip top when you made that kind of investment in it, right? Oh my gosh. I'm trying to look at the screen. Let me see if I didn't greet anybody else before I go over and put on some more Irish music. Yeah, everybody's in the right neck of the woods in saying the 1930s. That's absolutely spot on. It was actually the World's Fair back when they would do World's Fairs like in Chicago and that. They were huge, huge events. And they had so many vendors and so many different innovations. It was the century, as Susie had said a little bit earlier, and she nailed it. It was the century of basically innovations. And that was kind of the theme of the Chicago World's Fair is look at all these innovations that we developed. And one of them was the featherweight. One of them was the featherweight that was being premiered at the Chicago World's Fair as this incredible innovation. They didn't have any real sewing machines other than maybe the General Electric. Remember when I presented that General Electric for the gentleman that had been looking like for 10 years to get it restored? and I eventually took care of it. It was called the General Electric Model A. And that did arguably predate the Featherweight, but it didn't have the same tilt bed features and some of the other amenities of the Featherweight. But the Featherweight was a huge innovation. And that's why why Singer decided to present it at the Chicago World's Fair right around 1933. And because of the timing of when the Chicago World's Fair started, the Chicago World's Fair actually ran from 1933 to 1934. And that's where sometimes I've noticed on some of the Facebook groups, they'll get into these heated debates where one side will think that they're absolutely right. It was 1933, and that's the only correct answer. It's not, because the World's Fair ran so long in Chicago, it actually ran from one year to the next. So if anyone gets into a debate with you in one of those Facebook groups and they say it was 1933, you can tell them, well, you're partially right. It was actually 33 to 34. So it was actually almost a year event because they had so many innovations that they were showing to the public. And I've shown you in some of the videos. Remember that? I took a little video clip of the actual Chicago World's Fair. People dressed up like they were going to the opera. Women had gorgeous dresses on and gorgeous handbags, and men were in suits and ties. This was a major event. You needed to dress up. Let's just say that me right now with my DeWalt jacket, I probably would have gotten kicked out. I would have gotten kicked out of the Chicago World's Fair because I was not dressed appropriately for such a huge event. Such a huge event. Yeah. And Kristen is typing 1935. It was actually over by 1935, but you know what? It was the 1930s. Anyone that typed 1930s is exactly on the mark. On the mark. Yeah. All right. What else do we have? Oh yeah. All right. Any of you that are sitting right now should probably get up. It's St. Patrick's Day, for goodness sakes. And we got to do a little. All right, that's enough for me. Hopefully you got up and stretched your legs a little bit because we've been hanging out together already for how long? How long have we? Good gravy. I was just going to show you this real quick and then get back to work. We've been hanging out together for over an hour. So I've got to get back to this because right now it's going on 10 o'clock in Wisconsin. It's going on 11 o'clock over on the East Coast or Florida or any of those places. And anyone else that's joining from somewhere else in the world, it might be the middle of the night. So we've got to get this done because getting a machine ready to go to the paint shop is not.
That was easy.
It's not that easy. It's not.
That was easy.
Well, it's not really that easy.
That was easy.
It's not easy. And it takes a lot of time. So I better get this done because I've got to be up early and traveling to the paint shop. But I appreciate you guys so much. And I'm so encouraged by the big audience this late all coming together so they can say, what the heck is that guy up to? Is he still in the workshop? Yep, I am. So you guys enjoy this music that's still playing. Thank goodness. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I'm going to look at the chat to see if I need to respond to anything. And you guys keep watch for Julie's. Oh, that was weird. It just ended right there. Right as I said, Julie, the power of Julie's name. So you guys keep watch for Julie's machine eventually to emerge like the butterfly from the cocoon with a brand new clear coat. Again, the decals are not going to be perfect. They're going to be the same decals. The areas you can see right now are that are a little bit rough. I'll touch those up and it'll have a real pretty luster and finish to it once it gets done at the paint shop. But I can never get it to the paint shop unless I take care of this first. So you guys enjoy chatting with each other a little bit. I'll look at the chat as well to see if there's anything I need to respond to. And I'm going to restart the Irish music again. I am absolutely resolute that we've got to have some Irish music to wrap up this live stream. So God bless you guys. Thanks so much for your support and encouragement. Thanks so much for being a part of this classroom. And I'll let you guys enjoy chatting with each other, making some new friendships. I got to get back to work. Otherwise, you midnight I'll still be down here at midnight. Mr. Bean gets really weird after midnight. It's happened before. And he gets really, I mean, scary weird. Scary weird. He really does. He's kind of scary looking right now. But you guys take care. God bless you. Have a great rest of your night, your morning, whatever it is. I didn't look at the chat to see what time it is in Brazil right now, but thank you to Christina. Thank you to others from around the world that will sometimes, if they get a notification Scott's live streaming, it can be in the middle of the night for them, and they will jump on and check out what's going on. How cool is that? How cool is that? Yeah, it really is. All right. So I'm going to start up the Irish music, and then I'll end the live stream. The chat will stay active. So if you want to chat with somebody, if you're in a chat with somebody, chat as long as you can. I don't shut the chat off. YouTube just times it out after a certain amount of time. So I have no control over that. I wish I did. I wish I did. Oh, hey, Mindy. I didn't even see Mindy popped in. Hello to Mindy, too. I think I said hello to everybody else. But happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Okay, YouTube, play this music for my friends, doggone it. Ah, come on. Yes! Really? Right at that point, you had to end the song? Everybody send nasty notes to YouTube. Nasty notes to YouTube. All right, I'll end the live stream now. I'm going to get back to work so I can eventually close down the workshop. And y'all have a great evening. Again, if you're chatting with somebody right now, go ahead and finish that chat. Even when the live stream ends, you're good to go.